going on, and I want to share that with you. But first, we're gonna get into some conversation. I think that's important, centering around the idea of building self-discipline within yourself, and why it's important. But before we get into that, for those guys who are listening, go ahead and head on over to our Facebook page. Go ahead and like and follow at the Deviant Core Podcast. And also, we're on YouTube if you want to go ahead and watch the videos and full-length podcast at the Deviant Core Podcast. Go ahead and check us out there. Like us, subscribe. And for those of you guys who are listening, we're also on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify at the Deviant Core Podcast. You can also find us at Overcast and Stitcher at the Deviant Core Podcast. So, with that being said, a little self-plug there. Let's go ahead and get into it. So, now, what is self-discipline, and why is it very, very important? So let's talk about this for a second, because I feel like this is the one thing that in this world a lot of people are lacking, and it's due to the numerous amount of circumstances, right? It can be first of all, the obvious, your parents not teaching you something like that everyone should be yet learning, and two, it could be us not recognizing that we don't have that self-control. We don't have that discipline to really hone in and focus and to do what needs to be done in order to be successful. Developing that routine, developing that mindset where it's like, hey, you know what? I got things to get done. All right, and I need to get it done. I don't have time to be procrastinating. I don't have time to be playing around. I don't have time to be playing these games. I have stuff to do. And having that self-discipline, that is what's going to help you get over that hump and keep yourself consistent so you can get to your goal. So now, why is it important when we're talking about this? Why is it important to have self-discipline, right? Well, first things first. Without self-discipline, it becomes very difficult for you to accomplish anything. Now you're talking about, Drew, what do you mean? What do you mean? I think I have self-discipline, but what do you mean it's impossible for me to accomplish anything? Look at this, all right? If you guys take a look at life and the way I look at it, as a game, right? You need some level of focus to help you get you through, because in a game, you have a bunch of side missions and side quests that you got going on that you got to go ahead and do. And sometimes those side missions and side quests that you take on are a little bit of a distraction from the main storyline, from the main plot. Similar to if you bring it back to the real world, right? So you're in the real world and this is life. Well, guess what? We know life is filled with a ton of distractions. So it becomes, without self-discipline, it becomes very, very easy for you to fall into the pit sides and the distractions and the manipulations that come with life, right? Because you have to understand the fundamental law is that everyone out there has their own motivations, and they also understand to a certain degree that they need people to be successful. So if they see that you unwillingly or willingly can help them further their agenda or goal, and you're not aware of yourself, you're not disciplined enough, and you don't know where you want to go, it becomes easy for you to fall right into the same trap. And there are a lot of people out there who are ready to trap you, because there's a lot of trappings in life. And if you don't have that self-discipline, it's very easy to not see it and fall right into it. So what are other reasons why self-discipline is important, right? Well, think about this. Let me ask you guys a question. Have you guys ever had a situation where well, think about this. Think about a moment where there was something you had to get accomplished, something you had to get done that day, and for some reason you just don't got the energy, you're just not feeling it, whatever that reason may be. There's something for you to get done, but you just don't feel like doing it. Well, guess what? I'm sure many of you guys have had that feeling. I'm sure many of you guys have procrastinated on work that need to get done. But here's where self-discipline comes into play, right? Self-discipline, when it comes into play, it helps you push through those tough times, push through that procrastination, because you understand that there's something that needs to get done, something very important that is towards your long-term goal and satisfaction, right? So you push through because you understand the gravity of that goal. That's what happens when you have self-discipline. So let me give you guys an example, right? And it comes in different forms, right? If you think about someone, or this may even be yourself, where, let's say, you started a fitness routine, or you decided to just start going to the gym, start to work out because, you're not proud of your body. You're not proud of where you are right now physically. And I know some of y'all, you've had that thought. I've had that thought myself, but you're not proud of where you are physically. So what happens? You go to the gym, right? And you start off fast, right? You start lifting weights, you run in, you're doing all this stuff, right? A week goes by, you check yourself, you don't see results. A couple weeks go by, you check yourself, you're still doing the same thing, you don't see results, right? So then you quit. Because you're not seeing that immediate result. You're not seeing that immediate, gratification of you putting in a week working out to lose weight. So then you start to convince yourself, like, you know what, maybe it's not for me, or maybe I'm not able to lose weight, right? You get about 20%, 25% there, 20 to 25% there. You start off and you don't finish. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a lack of self-discipline. That is someone who lacks self-discipline, because someone with self-discipline who sets a goal for themselves, a fitness goal for themselves, they say, hey, this is where I want to be. Okay, I am sick and tired. I am sick and tired of looking at myself the way I am right now. Something has to change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to push through all this. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to pay attention to myself. I don't want to look at myself in the mirror. I'm just going to keep working. I'm going to keep working every day. If I got to do 5 push-ups, 10 push-ups, I'm going to keep doing 5 and 10 push-ups every single day. And while I'm building that, I'm not going to look at myself, because at the end goal, I know exactly where I want to be. And the pain hurts so bad. That I don't want to be in this spot, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. So if that means waking up every morning and doing 5 push-ups, well, guess what? I'm going to do it. And you do it. 1 week goes by, you do 5 push-ups. Now 5 push-ups becomes nothing. Next week goes by, you do 10 push-ups. All of a sudden, 10 push-ups is not a thing anymore. Then next week goes by, you're doing more and more and more and more and more. Before you know it, you walk past your mirror in the bathroom, and you look at the mirror, and all of a sudden, there's a little muscle line. You got a little muscle line growing up right there. And flexing, you're looking yourself in the mirror. All of a sudden, people outside of you starting to notice. They're starting to notice that change within you, that physical change. They start to compliment you. Say, hey, man, you're looking good. Hey, girl, you're looking good. What's up? You hitting the gym? You squatting? Oh, I see you. Keep doing your thing. Before you know it, here's the crazy thing. This is how your mind works. This is how crazy your mind works, right? Now, think about what you've been doing those past couple of days, or those past couple of weeks, months. You've been doing those push-ups and sit-ups and mini workouts, right? Well, guess what? You worked at it. You built day in and day out. You were doing the exact same thing. You were being consistent, and every single day you woke up and you allotted this time to do this X amount of workout. Well, guess what? Eventually, that becomes part of what we call a routine. A routine. You just develop a routine, and a routine is an absolute key piece to being successful. You cannot be successful without having some form of routine. And this doesn't even have to stretch physically. This even goes to finance, right? Finance. I commit, right? I'm tired of spending my money. I always spend my money, Drew, all the time. I'm broke. I got 2 cents to my name, and every time I get paid, I can't help myself. But to spend. Same thing, right? I'm sure you guys know someone out there who's like that. They run into a situation where things get hard financially, and they just quit. They don't have that discipline to say, hey, you know what? It ain't no thing to at least save $20. It really ain't no thing to save $20 and just put $20 away to whatever I want to do in the future. Maybe it's retirement. Maybe it's putting a pool together to buy a house later on. But if I can start with just putting $20 away and not even look at it, just like we're not looking in the mirror. I don't want to look at it. Every month, I take $20 out and I deposit it in an account that I know has a goal attached to it. And every single day you wake up, just like working out, you are depositing that $20. And you do it week by week, month by month, and eventually, a year later, you come in, you check, you got the stack of $20 bills yay high. All of a sudden, it looks like a lot of money, doesn't it? Because you took the time, you had the discipline, you developed the discipline and the routine to get to that point where now you have a stack of $20 bills you can toss towards a little investment that you want to make. Same thing goes for relationships. The exact same thing goes for personal relationships. Think about it. Think about how many people, guys, girls, how many people you've dated out there where, or even people in longer, more serious relationships, let's talk about marriage or things like that, right? When things get hard, your partner wants to run away. They don't build that discipline to stick around and say, you know what? No, I'm staying here. We're going to work on this. We will work on this. I don't want to run away thinking that the grass is going to be green on the other side, because 9 times out of 10, it usually isn't. I'm going to tell you that right now. It usually is not. So rather than taking the time to deal with the problems, people run away because they don't have that discipline. They don't have that discipline to say, hey, we're going to establish some form of communication here. We're going to establish some kind of common ground here so we can understand each other a lot more. We can understand that, hey, are our goals in line? Seriously. Some of us, we partner up with people where we just do it out of just blind emotion, no discipline, no thinking, no foresight involved, and we don't realize that that person probably isn't right for us. Think about it. How many people have made that mistake? I have. You made the mistake of joining up with somebody who, at some point later down the road, you find yourself looking at them and thinking, how, in what way are we compatible? But it takes that discipline. That's where it's very important. Now, we're talking about self-discipline and whatnot, whatever. Okay. Well, what exactly does it entail? What does it entail to be self-disciplined? Well, we already talked about a key piece of it already. We talked about routine. Now, let's break that down even further. What is a routine? A routine is literally a form of goal setting. That's it. Like we talked about before, you set the goal for 5 push-ups a day. I'm going to commit. That's the second part, because you're going to need commitment. Right? That's the second piece in terms of self-discipline. First, you need the goal setting piece, which is routine. And for a lot of you guys out there, you don't want to set your goals too high. When you set your goals too high, it becomes too big and too complex for you to take on. You got to start little by little. Take it little by little by little. Before you know it, you've eaten the old pie. You've eaten the whole thing. So you start small and don't pay attention to it. You start small with that little goal of, I am going to start with 5 push-ups a day. That's it. Let's see where this goes. I'm not even going to pay attention to it. 5 push-ups a day. And then before you know it, it becomes easy. And your brain now wants to challenge itself. Well, screw it. If I can do 5, let's try 10. Well, shit, if I can do 10, let's try 15. Let's try 20. Let's try 25. Let's try 40, 50, 100. Before you know it, walking past the mirror, your shoulders are all yoked. Shoulders all walking around like Incredible Hulk, looking crazy, looking mean. But you worked for it. You set that goal. You developed the routine, right? And most importantly, you committed. And that's a big thing in terms of self-discipline, because it requires, but when it comes to building self-discipline, it requires you to be committed. When you set that goal that initial routine, when you set out for that initial routine, you have to understand that I have to commit. The vast majority of people, like we talk about in our fitness example, when you get 25% of the way there, well, guess what? You quit. You quit because in your mind you thought you committed, but you truly never committed to it. You set the goal, but you truly never committed to it. Y'all don't believe me? Y'all don't believe me. All right. Any one of you guys who has ever been to a gym on New Year's or around that time, and then about a week later, come back to that same gym, you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Because right at there, New Year's, everyone's making this resolution. Yeah, I'm going to lose so much weight. It's going to be great. I'm going to have my beach body. This is what's going to happen. So you go to the gym and you start running. You hit it hard. You start going, right? You think you made a commitment, but you didn't really. You didn't really. Well, you didn't really make the commitment to the person that mattered. And the person that mattered was you. You really didn't commit to yourself. So a week later, you didn't see the results and you just quit. It's not for me. And here's the crazy thing about your brain. It's going to work against you too because it wants to keep you safe. So it's what it's going to do. It's going to rationalize and come up with excuses on why you couldn't get it done and why you couldn't accomplish. And you'll make up all these different reasons other than what the true reason was. You simply did not commit. Simple as that. It's that simple. So think about this for example. Let's dive deep, right? Because if we're even diving deep into the fitness piece there, right? And I don't. Here's my thing. When I see people who are overweight, what I see is the physical representation. When I'm seeing someone who's overweight, I am looking at the physical representation of the lack of work ethic. That's what I'm seeing, right? And newsflash, that's what subconsciously the vast majority of people see, right? That's what we talk about when we're talking about in terms of attractiveness. What's more attractive, someone who's obese or someone who's not? If you can really honestly think about it and talk about it, you probably go with someone who's not, because obesity comes with its own level of health problems. I got family members, man, who had health issues due to just having a lot of weight, heart problems due to having a lot of weight, right? So what does that tell me when I see someone who's obese walking around? When people out there see people who are obese walking around, subconsciously that tells you that there's a lack of self-discipline there. There's a lack of self-discipline there. Contrast to you see a bodybuilder, right? Well, what do you see when you see someone? Let's not even go with bodybuilder. This is someone who's just relatively fit. We go with someone who's relatively fit. What do we see? We see that, hey, this person is dedicated enough to hit the gym however many times a week, and he got that body or she got that body and she earned it. Versus the other person, have you even stepped foot in the gym? Honestly, have you set foot in the gym? If not, now let's start to figure out what we can do to get you in there and start building that routine. Same thing as being relationships, right? The vast majority of y'all right now, the vast majority of every single one of you out there right now are single. And for most of you guys in that category, you're single because you fled a relationship that you didn't want to take responsibility and commit to put in the work. And now you're single. You blame everything else. You put the blame on all the other things. Oh, I'm too this, or oh, they're too that, or everything else but what really freaking mattered. The fact that you didn't stay and commit. Now, of course, there's certain situations where if you got to leave a dude, you got to leave a girl because they're just crazy. I support you. You got to do it. Keep your mental state in mind and healthy. But vast majority of us, we're single because we don't take the time to work on our efforts. Same thing with finances. The vast majority of us are in debt. The vast majority are broke. Why? Because we can't have the self-discipline. We lack the self-discipline to save for something better. So how do you start building that discipline for yourself? How do you start right now to start building that self-discipline? Well, first thing you need to do is develop a routine. Develop a routine, right? Around that goal, around that pain point that you have. That pain point that drove you to set that goal in the first place. Whether it's, I need to get my finances in order. Set that goal. Okay, you know what? I'm going to divert at least $20 a month. At least. Something, a little bit to start putting myself in a better cash position or financial position. I'm going to start with $20. And you start small. And you keep building. And you keep building. And you keep building. But the most important thing is, don't pay attention to it. Once you start and you set that routine, get it out of your mind. Don't think about it anymore. Don't think about it anymore. You set out and you just have to now commit to just doing it. Eventually it becomes a pattern, but you have to commit yourself until it becomes that pattern. Because if you don't commit and you're always paying attention to that, well, guess what? In the example of fitness, you're not going to see results right away, and that might discourage you. An example of the financial, you're putting $20 a month every month. Well, guess what? If you're constantly staring at that pile and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, guess what happens? Temptation happens. That's what happens. Because you look at that big pile of cash that's building up, and you can't help to think that there's something I could spend this money on. Temptation, which is another big trap in life, right? You got to watch out for. That's where self-discipline comes into play. When you get to that point where temptation starts to knock at your door, it's like, hey, no. I am disciplined. This is where I want to go, and this is where I want to be in the future. And temptation, you are not going to stop me. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. All right? And last and final thing for that is keep adding to it. Keep adding to it. Mix it up. Because every once in a while, if we're just being real, a routine could get boring at times. For me, I get bored pretty easy. So when I start a routine, I like to mix it up, right? So whether it's doing push-ups every morning, right? Well, now you can mix it up a little bit, right? Instead of doing normal push-ups, you can do an incline push-ups. Put your feet up on a couch or something. Start going to town, right? You can do something forms, right? You can do push-ups with dumbbells. Same thing with your finances. Mix it up a little bit. Every once in a while, you start, you know what? Maybe I'll toss $100 in there. You know, I got a raise at work. I'm going to toss a little bit extra in there. Mix it up. Keep it interesting. Keep it challenging for you. And that's pretty much it. Once you build up all three of those things, you will have the self-discipline. You will have it. But it takes the work, the recognition, and commitment. And that's pretty much it with that segment. Guys, if you are just tuning in, first of all, thank you.